Welcome everybody to the God of War Extras video covering the extras of the original God of War. All the extras are going to be found in the treasures menu. So here we go. The first thing we're going to be talking about is the Challenge of the Gods. The way this works, I'm just going to show you the best attempt of every single challenge and just talk through them. No deaths here. I'm just going to show you how to actually succeed in them. So challenge 1. Throw these guys off the platform before time runs out. 10 guys, I believe, in total. Just press circle. That pushes them. And just keep doing that until you push them all. Try not to get ganged up on. Simple enough. Just one guy left. Still have 30 seconds. Very simple. Moving on. Challenge number 2, this one's a little bit more involved. We have to go across these all these platforms. We need to kill archers and undead soldiers. Harpies are going to show up as well to bother you. You don't need to kill them, but you should kill them every now and again just because they're going to really get in your way otherwise. Every single challenge gives you certain weapons and magic to work with. You're always going to have Athena's blades as opposed to the blades of chaos, but the kind of magic you have access to will depend on the challenge you're in. So don't expect to always have Army of Hades for every challenge. Don't expect to always have Poseidon's Rage for every challenge or Zeus Lightning Bolt for every challenge. Yeah, every challenge is unique in terms of what kind of equipment you're going to have to work with. Make sure you don't leave any platforms that still have undead soldiers or anything, because if you forget, then it's going to take you a very long time to get back to that red platform to kill that soldier, and that's just going to... you're just going to lose, because you're not going to have enough time. You're going to deal with a combination of regular Aegean Sea unarmored archers, Pandora's Temple soldiers, and shielded enemies with the red armor that you fought back in Athens in the main playthrough. Be careful of the harpies, they aren't going to keep dive bombing you. In the main playthrough, I played the game on God mode. The Challenge of the Gods does not operate on God mode rules, so enemies will be doing the amount of damage that you would expect from, normal mode, not from very hard God mode. So take some comfort in that. If you've already been playing this game on God mode, you will find enemies do a lot less damage to you, and you're doing a lot more damage to enemies. So that's nice. Only a few more seconds, but just one more guy to kill. Moving on. Okay, challenge number 3. This one is very simple. Just break all the pots. You want to do just one Blade of Chaos attack and kind of spin the control stick around so Kratos gets the most distance and most radius coverage possible with every blade swing, and that will ensure you can destroy all the pots in time. Very simple, very straightforward. Moving on. Okay, challenge 4, we want to kill 4 Minotaurs and no undead soldiers. Now, this challenge is also a little bit more involved, similar to challenge number 2. In this case, we want to use our blades to lower the health of the Minotaurs as much as possible. We don't want to actually kill the Minotaurs outright, not immediately. We want to try to get both Minotaurs to QTE range, to QTE health range. The reason for this is because the Minotaurs spawn infinitely, so there aren't going to be exactly 4 Minotaurs that spawn. It's more relevant once you get to the second pair of Minotaurs. But Minotaurs will just keep spawning in infinitely after you kill one. So you want to make sure that when you kill one, you already have what you need to kill the next one, and that will let you just flow from one kill to the next, giving you ample opportunity to just to deal with this challenge as easy as possible without having to worry about the soldiers. Be careful though, because the Minotaurs can also harm the soldiers. I apologize, by the way, there are going to be some cuts in the video. The recording did not come out that great at all for the extras video, unfortunately. So there are going to be cuts here and there. You saw one earlier in this challenge with the Minotaurs. It's going to happen a few more times. I apologize for that in advance. There's nothing I can really do about it. Hopefully it doesn't happen in the future, but see, this is why you wanted to get the Minotaurs to QTE range. I was already at I'd already killed 3 a fifth one appeared, but I already have this fourth one very weakened and almost dead, so that's done. Moving on. So challenge number 5, we need to shoot undead soldiers and not humans. The way this works is we want to treat the other platform like a clock. And I believe we're going to get a zoom in later on in this challenge that tells you at what point exactly you want to actually start the shot for the ballista, because it's not an immediate thing. It takes a few seconds for Kratos to load up the ballista and to actually, kick fire it towards the undead soldier. So you want to make sure they are at a very, very specific position on the platform to ensure that every time you start the charging process, you're always going to hit the undead soldier. We're going to get a brief slowdown. Treating the other platform as a clock. If you wait until the enemy gets to around the 1 o'clock position where that crack is, that's when you want to start charging up the ballista to fire at them. And that will ensure you always hit them. So, moving on. Challenge number 6, we need to reach the center of the platform before time runs out. We have very limited time. These archers are very annoying. I don't bother attacking them from a distance because you don't have any magic, so you are just going to have to make leaps of faith and hope you don't get killed. This is a very difficult challenge. This one could take quite a few tries. Not the funnest one. The platforms do move pretty quickly, but a bit of luck and you'll be able to do it. So moving on. This one is kill everybody and don't get hit while doing it. This one is reasonably difficult. It's not that bad. I believe enemies don't respawn. The enemies don't respawn either, so the enemies that you're dealing with here, the Pandora's Temple variant of soldiers and the 2 Minotaurs, those are the only enemies you have to actually kill to complete this challenge, so, have at it. Just keep your distance, do square, triangle combos, use Lightning of Zeus, because that's the magic you had back when I still had a magic bar. Get some quick hits, get some quick kills from a distance. The last 2 enemies you'll probably have to deal with will be Minotaurs. These are the Minotaurs with the hammers, meaning that they can do the slam attack that does the shockwave that comes at Kratos. That's the only attack from a distance that can actually hurt you and do any damage to you. And it's very easy to dodge, so I really could have used Rage of the Gods here if I wanted to. I don't know. I didn't, though, because the square, triangle thing is just a safer bet to kill them. And again, this isn't God mode, so I didn't have to worry about them having infinite health or anything crazy like that. Moving on. Challenge number 8. We need to kill all the enemies. These are just going to be Gorgons and armored soldiers from Athens. You want to jump and do the meteoric slam thing that I just did at the beginning of this challenge. Here we go. Okay, challenge number 9. Kill 4 Cyclopes before time runs out. This time we don't have to worry about accidentally killing other things, we just have to kill the Cyclopes. Satyrs are going to be here to cause some trouble, both in this challenge and the next, but again, this is not God mode. You don't have to worry about enemies having extra health or being like crazy damage sponges. It's very, very straightforward. Look, the Satyrs aren't even doing that much damage to me. I mean, they're annoying, they can stun lock you, and you are on a time limit, so that's not ideal, but you're not in danger of dying here, is the good news. Very simple matter. Again, I'm going to apologize in advance. You already saw a few video glitches here and there. The recording came out terribly for this extras video, which is a shame, because I really wanted this to come out looking okay. But there were a few cuts here and there that just not great. So I apologize in advance for all of those. Apologize in advance and retroactively apologize for the ones that already happened. Thankfully, there shouldn't be that many after the Challenge of the Gods. For some reason, the recording really messed up for the Challenge of the Gods, but then after that, back to normal after that, so. Annoying, but that is what it is. This is our final Cyclops. Once we kill this one, we get to move on to the final challenge. Alright, moving on, one last time. So our final challenge, we have to kill enemies to make the platform rise. We need to get to the top platform to complete the challenge. Yeah, this is the toughest challenge because of the Satyrs. The Satyrs, as I talked about in the main playthrough, they don't do that much damage to you. What they do is they push you around the platform like a crazy amount. So I'm doing this special unique attack that you get with I forget what level Blades of Chaos this is, but you jump up, you just do L1 triangle while you're up in the air, and you can do this attack. This attack I would recommend you do the entire time, because when you're on the ground, you're going to be perfect fodder for the Satyrs to just really ruin your day. The Satyrs and the Cerberus pups, but don't worry about the Cerberus pups. They're never going to transform to full-size Cerberus. They can also push you around, but not nearly as bad as the Satyrs. You really want to concentrate on throwing off Satyrs off this platform as much as possible, as opposed to Cerberus pups. So, doing this unique launch attack, just doing this again and again and again and again and again. I think in the description I'll go ahead and list how to specifically do this attack specifically, because it's really useful, and this is the one thing you want to do to actually complete this challenge. Otherwise, you're not going to have a hope of actually completing it. The Satyrs are just too annoying. They're too fast. They're too to comfortably do the challenge without doing the attack that I'm doing right now. So keep doing this. Eventually, you will be done, and yeah, this is a very annoying challenge. You don't have to get the platform all the way up to the top. As soon as you're close enough, like right now I'm close enough, I can just double jump and I'm done. That's the God challenges. Yay! Our reward, I believe, is all the costumes that we can now use for New Game Plus runs. So that's that. Moving on to the next extra. We're going to take a look at the trophies for the original God of War. Not much to say about it. It's very, very simple. Most of these are just story-related trophies. I believe there are a few that just involved, killing a certain amount of enemies or doing certain things like saving the Oracle with 10 seconds to spare. Getting a 100-hit combo. You can do that pretty easily during the Kratos clone fight, as you saw in the main playthrough. But no, the majority of these trophies are just story related. So 200-hit combo again, Kratos clone fight can really take care of that pretty easily. Only trophy I didn't get was one for speedrunning. Didn't need it. Not really interested in speedrunning, so I don't really care to do that. Yeah, that's it. Very straightforward. Moving on. Okay, now we're going to fully explore the treasures menu. We saw that menu contained the Challenge of the Gods, but now we're going to see all the other extra stuff that are located there. First things first, though, we did challenge the gods, so let's go ahead and take a look at the extra costumes. Here they are. They're very fun. Obviously, they had a lot of fun designing these for Kratos. Daring bastard. And the Ares armor is very cool looking. You can't use any extra costumes in God mode, and yeah, I have a video that that's going to show off the costumes. It's in the description and in the card, so you can check that out. Making of God of War is a 30-minute documentary about making the game. Here's some trailers.
War-ravaged Athens. Legions of undead soldiers. Greek mythology's greatest beasts. And a deceptive god are no match for the fury of one vengeful warrior. God of War. One dying wish from a desperate warrior allowed him to survive, but brought him a lifetime of despair.
By the gods, what have I become?
Now, the only way to right the wrongs of his past is to master the powers granted him by the gods of Olympus. Medusa's gaze. Zeus's fury. Army of Hades. Poseidon's rage. Blade of Artemis. The epic adventure of conquest. Destiny. And revenge. God of War.
There's more trailers, but those are in the description of the video. So now we're going to have some documentaries. Some documentaries and behind the scenes.
This is our sort of batch of things that you didn't get to see. That some of them I'm glad you didn't, and some of them I wish you would have, time permitting, but it wasn't. So here we go. Okay, now this is actually this. Now this wasn't a deleted level. This was the prototype that the team put together. I don't even know what the date on this is, but 3 years ago, and it was really just to get the basic mechanics, not even tuned or anything, but you could run, you could swim, you could swing, and if you look at this level a little bit, you'll see we certainly didn't reuse any of the main art, but you'll see kind of like that shot there is sort of the precursor to some of the shots we have in the game. The rope swinging mechanic, and a lot of this, so you'll recognize if you've played the game and remembered the game, you'll recognize some of the level when you pull into Athens at first. This bottom section is based on that, and the whole cliffs that you climb here, we actually just sort of ripped these out directly from the demo and built the cliffs level, the Cliffs of Madness or the Cliffs of Insanity. I forget what we ended up calling it. God, it's amazing to see this little guy running around. He looks so not like Kratos. That guy there was the original Cyclops who was dying, who just never really looked like a Cyclops. He just looked like a big guy with a stick. And then this was the room, the only room that we built that was like the final room, and everything else was kind of rough. And I remember seeing this and going, everybody saw this and said, man, this looks awesome. And then we were like, yeah, but how in the hell are we going to get all the levels in the game looking as good as that. And I don't know if we ended up getting them all looking as good as that, but I think we came a lot closer than I thought we would. This level's pretty cool. This was our test level for the Icarus wings. So, Icarus and Daedalus. The Icarus story where he flew too close to the sun with the wings that he had made, and the wax melted and he fell to his death. That was sort of the inspiration for the mechanic. And I still love this. I absolutely wish this had made it into the game. We just, it really came down to time and going, you know what, let's focus, let's get our fighting really good, and let's get our platforming better, and let's get our puzzles working, and maybe we can come back to this. And as is often the case, you just never have the chance to. So I'd love to see something like this, in future God of War titles, because I think it's a great, it's just fun. I mean, it's fun to fly around. And what was cool about this is it wasn't just a flying level. It was, you could land and you could walk around, and it was a seamless experience versus, now it's time for the flying level. So that was pretty cool. Yeah, I look at this now and I'm like, damn, we should have gotten that in. It would have been awesome. These were the original Harpies. They were a lot bigger. They still read better. They look awesome, but we just realized we needed more of like a bat-like, small, like little annoyance enemy. These guys played like the skeletons, basically, flying versions of the skeletons, and there just wasn't much of a difference in gameplay, so we ended up kind of shrinking them down and making them bats. And this was what we called the Mounting the Titan level, which is Kronos, the giant titan in the desert. And sadly, right now, the only way you get on the Titan is through a movie. And originally, this was how it was going to be. You see this big thing, it's like a big watermelon in the background. That's actually Kronos. And Tobin, the designer, he's got him kind of moving towards the player. And those things that are falling are like mountains that are crumbling and stuff. So it's kind of like Kronos is rushing towards the player, crawling, and you're trying to run ahead of him in these platforming sections, so that you can ultimately jump onto the structure that's on his back, and that'll lead you up to the temple. And I still love that idea. I really, really wish we could have done it. And it was just, we showed this to the tech guys, and we showed it to the artists, and they were just like, dude, that's going to take forever. This was the original boss. There was a boss that originally, look at that, that's awesome, that originally guarded Pandora's box. And again, we just didn't have time. And I know it's lame that that's the one thing I regret about the Pandora design, is that there are no bosses that guard the box. You have the Minotaur boss down below, and then we've got this conveyor belt section, and that's kind of it. And we just ran out of time. This was originally pretty cool. It was, you had this moving platform up above, you had this giant kind of harpy vulture in the center that was guarding the box, and she had these eggs scattered all around the level, and in order to sort of entice her to fly around, you'd have to go find her eggs and break the eggs, and you'd kind of take the little baby birds inside, and you'd kind of carry them around and use them as bait. And again, not only was it kind of a cool mechanic because you were slower as you carried these things around, but also I think it really helped with the character of Kratos. I mean, here he is, cracking open eggs and ripping out little infant birds and using them for his own desires, and really pissing off this mama bird, I thought was pretty cool. So here's just another quick idea. These are just almost like little sketches for levels, where you have a big open environment, and then you've got the walls come down and it becomes a maze, and you either do something and the walls come back up, or it's on a timer. I mean, we did tons of these things, where I'd have an idea or a designer would have an idea, and it was like, try something like this. So this level is actually a level that we went so far as that we showed the press, we got it in magazines, and this was really a hard cut for us to make, and especially for me to make. I love the mechanic of it, and I love the platforming and the concept. And the concept was that you're riding this elevator, and if you get knocked off, obviously you'll die. And if you get off the elevator, the idea was it was going to originally be being chased by this massive sandstorm. And the elevator was really the only thing. It was sort of a magical elevator that protected you from the sand. And if you got off the elevator would bypass you, and the sandstorm would engulf you and kill you. And the two things we didn't have time to do is we didn't have time to tune it, and we didn't have time to build the sandstorm. But what I loved was this whole idea of, getting off the elevator and having to catch back up with it. So, you'd have these little forks in the road, and either you'd be forced, like coming up, you'd be forced to get off the elevator, or you could choose different paths. And if you took one path, it was more combat heavy, one path was more platform heavy. And as you can see, we had this pretty much finished from a standpoint of the art and the setup, but we were missing the big sandstorm, and we were missing the the tuning time to really make this fun, and so it ended up getting cut. This I love. This was great. This is great. I love this for the elevator. Now it gets smaller. I guess we talked about putting this in the actual, oh, see, they suck. Whoever played this couldn't keep up with the elevator, but that was the whole idea, trying to keep up with the elevator. So it's tough. It's really tough when you have to cut ideas that you're really passionate about out of the game, but you do so you can make the other ideas that you do have in the game shine even brighter. So it's sort of a constant process, or it's a constant aspect of the process that's just a really tough thing that you go through, but I think it's worth it because it makes the overall product better.
Some of the earlier characters that had been played around with, some of them again just didn't feel right for the time period. Some of them either felt overdressed or felt too fantasy. A lot of the concepts too got very detailed. There were lots of flowing things, and there was lots of hair, and there was lots of things that if we had to just model it, it probably would have been a little bit tougher to pull it off. There was one character I remember when I first saw it that had kind of almost kind of a tribal feel to it, a very kind of African feel to it, which I thought was pretty cool. Didn't say Greek, but at the same time when I looked at that, I thought, that would be a pretty cool character to work with.
We went through images of the lone wolf kind of characters where you might have a hero with a little baby or a dog on his back. So just to kind of give something different, about the character and something that you can kind of relate to.
One of the original concepts behind the hero for God of War was to come up with a guy who was, his whole face was encased in a mask, and we thought that going with a mask would be being able to paint his face in broader strokes so that when you were playing the game, he still had a lot of personality and you could still sort of read that when you saw the mask. But when we actually got it in the game, it ended up feeling very soulless, and it didn't feel like the guy had a personality.
That was always one of the big elements that we were dealing with, and it was difficult because, we would often hear, "It's not Greek enough," and we're like, what does that mean? I'm using a actual, sometimes because we'd take it right from a Greek, some Greek sources, and it's very Greek. But I think what we really started seeing was, okay, no, it's not Greek enough according to what the general public knows, and that's kind of what we had to go towards.
These are again. Very traditional. Some of these were very traditional kind of Greek images, and again, the more traditional it got, the more armor we put on him, the more he lost his individualism.
Every time we put something on, Dave felt like, he doesn't look brutal anymore, and we started realizing brutal also kind of related to the primal part of him, and so we did spend a lot of time going through that, but in the end we ended up still taking his clothes off, and that's what we went with. So
when I first saw this from Charlie, it was the first time that I really saw the brutal nature and the violent nature and the sort of the animalistic quality that would really become the foundation for Kratos. And I think starting to see these images was just like sort of confirmation that this idea could really work, and instead of giving him a traditional sword, going with these sort of chain blades was going to be much more dynamic and fluid and really fun to play with. The main goal for the character in the game was always to create someone that looked really brutal and really nasty and really violent. Instead of sort of going down the traditional route of a iconic Greek hero with the plume helmet and the skirt and the toga and the sandals, we wanted someone who really made the player feel like he was being able to unleash his dark side. So the idea was always, how can we make him look more brutal? How can we make him look more violent and impulsive and nasty? And that desire always superseded sort of historical accuracy. So while you look at this guy and he may not totally feel at home in ancient Greece from a costume standpoint, I think he achieves the greater purpose, which is to give players a character that they can play who really does let them just go nuts and unleash the nasty fantasies they have in their head.
So the idea on the environments and trying to create a Greek world, was trying to create a feeling that reminded you of Greece and that didn't feel too fantasy. So we were trying to walk that fine line between a fantasy game environment and a traditional Greek environment. And so part of it was again trying to get stuff that made it feel Greek, not Roman, but Greek.
Okay, when we first start concepting out environments, it wasn't really defined as levels, you know. We picked out the important locations such as Pandora and Athens and Hades, and all I knew is like the game should feel really big, which means there's no like cramped area. It's more like challenge against the god and like huge monsters. So the look of the environment should be like huge, you know.
So with each of the environments, what we tried to do was kind of move you through the world using color to kind of help move Dave's story along and kind of emphasize the emotional impact of what he was trying to, of the story he was trying to tell. But at the same time, if I've just come out of the ocean where I'm battling the Hydra, where we've got, in that case, you know, there's more kind of greens and blues and things like that. I don't want to go into that same scenario color-wise again. It's like if I did the whole game in black and white, you get probably bored with it after a while. So one of the interesting aspects, especially in the Pandora section, was a lot of times you'll see multiple iterations on statues as well. And one of the reasons was that one of David's idea was he wanted those statues to come to life, whether it was Atlas or Poseidon rising out of the water. The things that were in that environment, the objects, the architecture, those types of things reflect what was going on, again, with David's story. So in Pandora, as an example, that whole sequence is about an architect who, in David's mind, is basically gone mad. And so the idea was the structures, the traps, the visual look of that should begin to reflect kind of a madman in some instances.
I did that piece, even the level, the design wasn't solid yet. So, but my own interpretation, I was thinking it's like things are like there's no gravity, but at the same time things are like kind of shifting all the time, and there's infinite distance in the back. Things are flying, falling, exploring. The Mountain Olympus, that one particularly, it's not for the game art. It's more like, okay, we want to talk about Mountain Olympus, so where's the image? That kind of thing.
The goal of the world of God of War was really to create a place that felt like, you know, a giant theme park ride, you know, or a giant set on one of these great high adventure movies, and places that you'd really want to explore and spend time in and really feel like you were having this grand adventure. And I think these guys, you know, week after week continually were able to come up with set pieces and ideas that they just top themselves constantly and continually, and they've really given us this great world to play in, and I think they did an amazing job, and I'm so grateful as a player that I get to actually play in this space.
When it came to the characters and monsters and creatures that our hero is going to encounter, we're dealing with characters and creatures that everybody is familiar with. Medusas, Cyclops, centaurs, minotaurs. One of the things that we had to do with all the characters, and I think you'll see this as you look through the concept art, one of the things that was very important to me was that when somebody looked at any of our characters, that they knew what they were. So what we could do basically there, as long as the character was down on all fours and I had 3 heads, you probably would accept that character as a Cerebus. Whether it was a werewolf, whether it was a dinosaur, you know, again, you would still accept that in our world and what we were doing in terms of building the mythology we were building, you would accept that.
As far as a game creature is concerned, mostly what was fascinating me was the deep sea creatures and how freaky they looked. And I was trying to pull up on some of that, and did a number of different types of hydras. I was told, okay, Ares would be maybe 90% elemental, 5 or 10% human. And so that's kind of what I was going for on these beginning ones. He's just pure power, almost like he's this unstoppable force. And then, Dave liked it. It's just he wasn't sure how we would do it. Probably was a slow transition towards being more human. So it's still kind of a huge guy, but he's got all this armor on that allows him to do all these things.
So the idea was, again, to move a character into something that, again, would be a little bit more in the horror direction. And again, what it allowed us to do was get characters that were still reminiscent of what they were supposed to be in Greek mythology, but were uniquely ours. So once we started moving in that direction, again, it opened up a whole new kind of avenue of ways to explore those characters. What we really wanted to do was keep people immersed in the mythology, in the Greek mythology, but give them a different kind of experience when it came to the characters and the creatures.
And now we have an interesting non-canon concept video for the future of the God of War franchise. Very cool. Let's take a look at that now.
When men ask for the origin of Kratos, the true tale was never known. The truth is that Kratos, like all men, began life as a child. But childhood in ancient Sparta was a brutal existence. Children deemed fit and strong were trained to be warriors, the protectors of Sparta. The weaker children were caged, sent to the mountains to fend for themselves. They were not expected to survive. And while Kratos escaped the fate of the weaker children, his brother was not so lucky. The two, once inseparable, were now alone. Kratos would become legend, but the story of his brother has gone untold. A child left in the mountains, he had died years before. Coming of age in the underworld, he had but one desire: revenge against the brother who deserted him all those years ago.
They'll take ideas presented in that video and run with them and go in a different direction for future future games in the God of War series. I love stuff like this in video games. I love it when video games dedicate all these extra special features and stuff. This is the character graveyard. I'm not going to talk for the entirety of it. I'm just going to tell you that this is just a very cool little area you can explore and take a look at all of these original designs that didn't make it into the game for one reason or another. A lot of it having to do with the technical limitations of the PlayStation 2, as you can see. So very cool to have this here as well. Enjoy taking a look at it. Next up, we're going to take a look at another non-canon concept video for something that will be more fleshed out in the future.
Kratos had accomplished more than he'd ever dreamed possible. But he did not sit easily on his new throne. There was a secret in his past even he did not know. A secret he burned to uncover. Born out of wedlock, Kratos was the bastard child of a shunned woman. There were rumors as to who the father was. Rumors that grew more and more preposterous. Until the woman finally left her small village. She swore a new life in Sparta. Kratos would never know the truth. Never know who his father really was. But now, as a man, Kratos returned to Sparta, determined to find his mother and discover the truth. Kratos' mother was not long for this world. Before she passed, Kratos demanded she tell him the truth. His mother knew the price she would pay if she revealed the name of Kratos' father. But it was time, at last, for her son to know who he was. No word need be spoken to bring about the prophecy of the curse. She was transformed into a merciless beast, one which would destroy even her own son. Putting aside the last remnants of affection for his mother, Kratos destroyed the beast she had become. With her last breath, she spoke the name of his father. For Kratos was no mere mortal. He was the son of a god. He was the son of Zeus, the father of Olympus. And with that knowledge came the certainty that one day soon he would take his revenge against the father, against the god who had abandoned him all those years ago. The tale of Pandora's box remains to this day. After the weapon was taken from the temple, the structure endured. Kronos the Titan lived another 1,000 years, wandering the desert. That was long ago. The temple has gone silent, and the beast who bore it for so long has died. Relics of a world long past. But all myths need not be from the ancient times. Today, a band of explorers will make their way inside the just-discovered structure and find for themselves the temple still holds many dangers and many secrets. Soon, as with all great myths, a new hero will emerge.
And that last video wasn't canon at all. It was just a fun little extra thing that they did. We saw this phone number pop up at the end of our God Mode playthrough, and now we get to see what happens if you actually call the number. So enjoy this little bit of information.
At last you are here. I have killed the Hydra myself, ripped the head off Medusa's shoulders, even killed a god of Olympus, but I have never seen such skill and strength as yours. You have conquered God Mode. The time and dedication you put into reaching this point is worthy of celebration and reward. Sadly, what can I offer one such as you? The keys to Olympus itself? Hardly a gift I'm willing to part with. Perhaps instead, a private tour. Here, come with me. When I first made my way to the throne of Olympus, I noticed this chamber, impenetrable to all except me. Even Lord Zeus is unaware of its existence. But you will know its secret. Many have asked how I killed an immortal. How can a god itself be destroyed? For your reward, I invite you to gaze upon this, the true fate of Ares. The soul of Ares itself, the soul of war, the soul of hate. See how it writhes in pain. See how it struggles to be free, and yet here it stays, unable to breach the walls of this room. What does it want? What is it for? And more importantly, how can I use it when I finally decide to take revenge on him? Answers for another time. Consider yourself privileged, mortal. You have seen the true fate of my enemy. Now go! Our time together is at an end. We will meet again, mortal. I will see you again.
Now, there is a second phone number, a second secret message that, of course, you may recall from the same final video of this main playthrough of God of War. You get it by destroying the two statues, the one statue of Ares and the other one of Pandora's Guardian, the giant Minotaur. Destroying both statues allows you to see the second phone number. It's more scrambled up, so it's kind of difficult to make out what the number is. But if you unscramble it, you will see what the number actually ends up being. So here we go. 500 times speed. Doesn't seem like you can destroy these statues, but you absolutely can. So go ahead and destroy them, and you will get the second secret message. All right. So let's go ahead, unscramble those numbers, and call that phone number and see what kind of message we get this time. Here we go.
By the gods, you've done it. Somehow you found your way here to me. I offer you my congratulations and my respect. Together, we shall conquer the perils that lay before us, and we shall always...
Dude, they did it. They found our Easter egg.
Who are you?
It's me, David Jaffe. I directed the game.
What game?
Your game, God of War.
Go away or...
Dude, don't you get it? These guys, they spent all that time breaking those statues. I mean, they must have taken, like, forever. And then they figured out the whole secret code thing.
I do not know what you are talking about.
We hid the secret pretty damn deep, huh, Kratos?
If I kill you, I will get help or...
So wait. If you got the secret from the net or a magazine, then actually you kind of suck. I mean, work for it a bit, right, Kratos? Actually, can I call you Krait?
No. Go away or I'll...
Don't you hate it when they get the codes off the net? So lazy. Hey, say, Krait, what are you so pale for?
I am serious.
You know, up close, you actually look kind of pasty, if you don't mind me saying. It's kind of gross.
All right, that's it!
What are we doing? Wake up! Come at us! We gotta make the secret!
He was worse than a screeching harpy. As I was saying, you have found the secret. You have done well. Congratulations, mortal. We will meet again.
So the last thing that I wanted to show off in this video is other media for God of War, namely the manual, which you're seeing flash on screen right now, the various pages of it. Very interesting stuff with some nice backstory as well about Zeus's order of not killing gods, all that great stuff. I also wanted to talk briefly about the novelization of God of War. There's going to be a link in the description for the audio book of God of War, a free version, so don't tell anybody. I don't condone that kind of stuff, but if you were interested in listening to it without having to pay for it, there is a video on YouTube that has the audiobook for free. So there is that. I wanted to talk a bit about the novelization. It also goes into additional detail about Zeus's orders of not killing God, not killing family, not killing other gods, because he himself did heinous things to his own family to secure his position as king of Olympus. The novelization of God of War, overall, I really liked it. If you want to listen to it, again, the link is in the description, so I would recommend you take a listen if you want to. Yeah, pretty good. The best part about it, obviously, is got to be the interludes to Olympus politics, with Athena trying to manipulate things so that Kratos can have all the help that he needs to kill the insane god of war. Because we don't get that into the head of Ares, but we do get very much into the head of Athena, who is basically the secondary protagonist of the book. Kratos himself is what you'd expect. Was what you'd expect he to be at this point of his life. Some things are fleshed out. The two women that he has the sexy time minigame with at the beginning, they actually have names and personalities. There's this whole big chase in the beginning where he's trying to capture the boat captain before they get into the grave of ships, where the Hydra shows up and ruins everything. The Hydra is actually Ares' Hydra, not just some random Hydra that's terrorizing the seas. It belongs. Ares controls it and unleashed it to try and kill Kratos and to just mess with the other gods, because he doesn't respect Zeus's rule at all, and by extension, he doesn't respect Poseidon or Hades or anybody else. Not really. It also gets into stuff about why Ares has an army of undead soldiers. It's because they're all. It's because he lost this important wager with Athena that isn't covered explicitly in the book. And for losing this bet to Athena that he thinks she rigged, but no, whether that's actually true or not is left up to you to decipher. Because of this, he can't actually command armies of humans anymore. He can only command the armies of the damned, the armies of Hades itself, and that's it. That's all he gets access to, which is why he takes advantage of the Cyclopes and the Minotaurs and the undead soldiers and all that stuff, and Gorgons and such. The Medusa is a whole side quest thing where Kratos is plucked out of Athens and taken to some jungle somewhere else to hunt down the Medusa. It's a crazy little thing. I'm not a big fan of it because it really interrupted the pace. A lot of Pandora's Temple is quite different. The way Kratos encounters the Guardian, the Pandora's Guardian, the giant Minotaur, is a very different fight to what it was like in the game. There's no Cliffs of Madness. Hades doesn't appear to give Kratos a power-up. The final puzzle is completely different. There is no Tomb of the Architect, and instead the Architect is actually sort of alive, and is basically the final challenge for Kratos to overcome. Very interesting stuff. I'm not gonna get into it anymore. This isn't a formal review by any stretch of the imagination. It's just to tell you that the novelization exists. It's pretty good. It's like 300 something. No. It's like 230 pages, I believe. Yeah. If you want to check it out, go ahead and check it out. That's all I've got. I hope you all enjoyed. Next time, I'm going to be doing a more formal, actually scripted review of the God of War comic book miniseries, the next canonical thing to happen to Kratos after the events of the original God of War and before the events of Ghost of Sparta. An early adventure Kratos takes both as a god and also covering an early adventure that he takes as a man, back when he was still a man. So I hope you all look forward to that. I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening and for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.